I don't like to talk too much in videos, but I'm going to just give you some orientation. This is a typical Toro S200 two-stroke Tecumseh engine, single stage. They're very efficient for light snow, inch and a half, a couple inches of powder. I live in Minnesota, so I also have a bigger snowblower for the heavier snows, and the Toro S200 gets used more than this lately. The reason I bought the new one for $20 is my old one was getting kind of beat up. All the plastic was bad. And so I thought, well, I'd have it for parts. Here's the old one with all the plastic off. I would say once you pull the carb off, if the gasket's good, leave it alone. Don't try to remove it. If you can reuse it, it'd be a lot easier than what I did, which required a lot of scraping to get the old one off. This is the model and identification plate number. They're pretty much the same on both of these machines. The kit came with a needle and seat and a new diaphragm and a gasket for the bottom. It also included the O-rings for the low speed and high speed jet. So you can take out the rubber gaskets, just kind of any tool. This carburetor is stamped with an F, and that means the gasket goes underneath the diaphragm, and the diaphragm goes in with the big plate up toward the bottom of the carb. This is the one I'm going to replace. I don't actually think it's that bad, but it didn't work, so let's give it a shot. This is the old needle and seat. You need a 9/32 to take it out, and you can see that there is a little rubber piece in there. It has a particular way to go in there with the flat side first, and there's a new gasket in the kit. When you take out the jets, this is the low speed jet. It is different than the high speed one. It's the one on the part of the carb closest to the engine. The high speed is the one furthest away. Again, you want to replace the gaskets on these, or I should say the little gasket on the end there. When you take those out, first turn them in till they stop gently, and then count the number of turns so that when you put it back together, you can run them that way. I'm going to take this carb out, use a brake cleaner and an air gun, and I'm going to spray it all out and clean it, and then I'm going to assemble it. I also want to note there are several holes and two springs when you dismount the carburetor. I've marked where they were with the blue indicator so that I can get it back to the same place it was. I use the body of the carburetor to make a template for the gasket. My advice is don't remove the gasket if you don't have to. It's a lot of work. Years ago we made a lot of gaskets. This is typical gasket material. I still have a supply of it. So there's my hand-cut gasket. I checked to make sure it fits properly. I would tell you that most mechanics who work on these regularly would never take the carb off the engine. You can do this all on the engine, but I'm doing it basically just to make it easier to show it to you. I also gently cleaned up the needles with 3000 wet or dry paper before reinstalling them. This is a little hard to show, but the one on the right is the original needle seat as it was, with the part up being the needle side. When I turn them over, I can't actually see a whole lot of difference, although there is one side that should go toward the seat. I'm absolutely convinced this is not an OEM kit, even though it was labeled that way. Typical Amazon. I am going to use the new seat anyway and see if it works. So there it is, ready to install. I had a bit of a difficulty getting the rubber ring down properly, but I think it's okay. So a new gasket, the spring is reused, and the new seat, the new needle is ready to install this way. I actually had to install it this way to make sure that I got the spring in the proper position. There, I just dropped the seat on, and now you'll need to use a wrench to tighten that up. Nine 30-seconds. Just don't over tighten it. I hand tighten it just using a screwdriver basically. You can also air test its functionality by blowing into the gas tube and putting your finger on the needle, and if it shuts off and on, you know it's working, which this is. The rest is putting new O-rings in the needle slots and then putting both of the needles back in with their original copper washers. That's all done. I ran them down to closed and then backed out the high-speed one, which mine was set at 1 full turn plus a quarter. The low speed was out 1 full turn and a half. The rest of the assembly is straightforward. The new diaphragm with the big piece, the bigger plate forward, up I should say, and a little bit down, so over the needle. And then the gasket, the new gasket, and then the original bottom, and pay attention to where the primer hose came out on the carb so you get it the right way. The primer tube goes to the right, same direction as the gas hose to be able to reach up to the control panel. I should note for anybody, a typical mechanic would know that anything more than one screw, you always just snug them up first, then you go in a crosshatch pattern, taking alternate turns, tightening until you get it to the fully tight. That's true even with 2 screws. Always usually hand start something so you don't strip it, and then go down to snug, and then tighten them back and forth until it's fully tight. That way you never warp anything. By the way, the kit included those 3 little hole plug things. I have no idea what they're for. They don't obviously need to be replaced in this carburetor, at least as far as I can tell. So we'll just go from there. If you did take the carburetor off, you have to remember to reconnect both spring devices before you bolt it on. I've got the gasket below, and it's not that hard to get to, except that the engine cowling makes it hard to start the right-hand bolt. And you'll need a socket somewhat like this, a 3/8. So there it is, mounted. As you know, if you're a mechanic, there's a designer somewhere in every factory whose job it is to make one bolt impossible to get to. And this was accomplished here, but I got it done. For the purposes of the video, I have installed taken the panel pieces out, the primer and the switch, so that I can do a test run on this. I may actually run it this winter this way without any covers, just to see how it works. Full disclosure, I wanted to do this video in just one take, so I've been working alone, and I have already started this one, so I know it runs, but I'll start it again just to show it. And just a note, I bought this brand new back in when it was a new machine, so I've had it probably 40 years. Being a somewhat compulsive person, I do have the original manual and warranty card. It was warranted for 1 year residential use. Frankly, I think I bought it when my son was probably a baby. He's 45 now, so it's survived pretty well. I had fun doing this. It was interesting to do it all in one take. So there's my $20 one I just bought off Facebook this summer. There's my 45-year-old one that I've used for all that time. And they both run. Let it snow.